not scientifically. For instance, many movies have cars crashing and then exploding. They don't do that. The proof that they don't do that is, I'm not all scarred up. I've been in a couple of car crashes. I was in a lorry when it crashed as well. No explosions when they crash. They don't do that. Otherwise, most adults walking around would have scars because most of us have been in some kind of car crash. Second one, bullets going through doors. People getting out of cars, hiding behind their doors. The doors stop the bullet. Very silly place to hide behind a door. People can see you. They know you're behind that door. Shoot through the door. It's very thin metal. So where do you hide? You hide behind the engine block. Bullets can't go through the engine. Another one. Petrol tanks don't explode when shot at. Mythbusters did a whole episode on that, and the others. So, present this as a homework task. Name movies, name myths, things that movies got wrong about cars. And then the next homework is to watch the Mythbusters episodes. Well, find them and watch them. Next, S for spelling correct, capital small s. It was on the way because quite a lot of my students, English isn't their first language. And those are the ones that I want to encourage for spellings. It helps. More science project homework ideas. Things you don't have to mark. You can say you've said a homework and the students write it in their homework diary and it's useful. It's find it outy. Next one is, do showers wake you up? Get the students to do the experiment. Find out if showers wake you up and get you more awake for doing your homework. They've got to design the experiment and report back. Another one. Does coffee wake you up? Does coffee give you brown teeth? Does smoking give you brown teeth? So this is a good way of getting the students to find out about things, think about things, and also put them off. Too much coffee does tea as well. Which one is worse? Coffee, tea, Coca-Cola. Which one's worse for drinking? For your teeth. Colour and there's it. Others. Which exercise is best? What happens to fruit? Comparing when it will last longest. So then they have to figure out an experiment. Always using the control of some fruit, just like any fruit will do. Leaving a little slice, just on the side. Fruit in the fridge, fruit in salt water, fruit in sugar water, fruit in water. Fruit in water in the fridge, fruit in the freezer. And then, they should think, I should taste it to see whether it tastes nice. After a day, after 2 days. Got to be careful with this one. Make sure the students don't taste it when it's gone mouldy. This requires some discussion first. And also, we need the parent to sign off on the experiment. Yes, they're allowed to do it in homework diaries. Good. Cold showers, smoking? Nah. Another one to do for homework is to get the students to find out what a sinus is for. What are they for? Advantages, disadvantages, and the appendix. What's the appendix for? Advantages, disadvantages, why do humans have it? Wisdom teeth. The same. Glasses. How come so many people need glasses? What happened to evolution then? That didn't seem to have worked. How come monkeys don't need them? Ideas. More science homework ideas. So, are they good ideas or are they bad ideas? Are they good for the environment overall or bad for the environment overall? Growing fruit and vegetables in small plots at home. Surely bigger farms would be better because they can have tractors and stuff. Or is it better if everybody grows their own crops? Get them to think about it and write back, put their hand up, next lesson, get a report back from 2 or 3 students. Another one. Tote bags. They're often toted as being a good idea compared to plastic bags. But are they? There's actually more than one viewpoint. Something to investigate. Steel straws rather than plastic straws. Surely they're better. But, they need cleaning, and they're heavier, and they take more energy to manufacture. Maybe we should go back to using straws. Which straws are the best straws for the environment? Test the cars, good, bad, or ugly. Cotton clothes, good idea, bad idea. Cotton does cause a lot of havoc around the world in the stands. And meat versus Impossible Burgers. Which one's better for the environment? Next! Another homework idea. Get the students to find out the most efficient thing that they can do, and also another one that they can do when they're older. Don't really want to say that their parents can do, because this can cause family problems. They can do now, and they can do when they're older, to improve their learning. Something that's most efficient thing they can do for this. When they get a report back from that, they should then give an episode to each student. 1 week, one student. Just one thing, the radio show. BBC, really nice. One thing they can do, the most efficient thing. So not something that takes lots of time, but most efficient, small amount of time, small amount of money, efficiency. To improve their own health. What should they do? Another one, to improve their planet. What should they do every day? Not something that takes 10 hours, that wouldn't be efficient. What should they do to improve the future? Something they can do every day. Next, natural experiments. We are at this moment in history finding out what will happen if lots of people have little mobile phones and spend their whole time bending over. Is that going to cause more back problems? This is a natural experiment. What are going to be the outcomes from mass mobile phone usage? Something we've only just started on. How about the outcomes of plastic? Good, bad, and ugly. Other natural experiments. What ones can they think up? Things that are happening to a large number of people that they're doing to themselves. Because you can't experiment on humans unless you do it on just yourself. There was those guys that proved that stomach ulcers were not due to stress, that they were due to a bacterial infection, and one of the doctors who was doing the experiments wanted to prove it. He gave himself the bacteria and got an ulcer. Proved it. Next, idiopathic iatrogenic. Something, well, 2 words, that the students should find out about. No doctor speech. Another one, are apples the most Frankenstein food? Things for, things against. Each student should have for and against. Are there reasons that more people of some ethnic country, areas, genetics, they have more glasses than others? What's causing the fact that some classes in the world are 100% glasses and others only 20? What's going on? What's causing this difference? Investigate. Where does the pollution go? When you throw away a phone, when you throw away a t-shirt. Where is the most harm done? By you. Using lots of plastic bags. The most harm done by you. Flying in an aeroplane. Most harm done by you. Getting in a car rather than sharing a bus. Where is the most harm done? Another one. Scientific discoveries that were in all the news, then proved wrong and the news didn't retract those things. And ones where they did. Which ones should you trust? The news outlets that retract things, or the news outlets that just say stuff and then don't tell you when they find out it was not true? Can the students find examples of these things happening? Next one. Does the Chinese government want people to smoke or not? Investigate. Another one. How to get struck by lightning and how to stop it happening to you. Why would you die if you ate 100% rabbit? Just ate rabbits for 6 months. This happened. Trappers died. In Canada, I believe. Good investigation. Next one. Why does the Chinese government want you to smoke? Well, not you, but the Chinese population. This was going on since the 1970s, up to today. Another one. When, between what years, were doctors prescribing ladies that were pregnant smoke? What harm did this do? And thalidomide. That was also prescribed to ladies that were pregnant. What harm did that do? It's worth finding out about the past to know which way to go in the future. And alcohol. Does drinking have an effect on the unborn baby? 90% of scientists thought that Einstein was wrong with his relativity, general relativity and special relativity, because it was Galileo who did relativity. 90% of them thought he was wrong, but they were proved wrong. Other examples of this happening, where somebody came up with an idea and most scientists were against it, because most of the time it's the other way around. Most of the time, go with the 90%. But very famous occasions when the 90% of older scientists were wrong and the young scientist was right and became famous. In what way was the lifestyle of your grandparents more sustainable than yours? Investigate. Or your great-grandparents. I'm talking about going back to horses. Was they sustainable? Or was there a lot of dead horse and manure all around the streets and the car came to rescue them from this? What things were thought impossible when your great-great-grandfather was born that now we can do regularly? Difficult one. See which students find some good stuff for that one. Another project. What things were correctly predicted by sci-fi? And what things were inspired by sci-fi? Which things were not invented, not patented, and why? Particularly I'm thinking about Mr. Berners-Lee. So it would be good to introduce what Mr. Berners-Lee did first that helped the internet. And then students find out other things that were not patented. And maybe things that were patented made loads of money. Another one, particularly when we're doing light and waves, get the students to find out why do waves mostly come parallel to the shore when they hit the beach? It's refraction. Edgar Allan Poe, who was he? Did he die rich? Why is he brilliantly famous? And what did he predict about atoms and the Big Bang in his poems? Another research project. Students figure out who's their favourite Greek scientist. They have to come up with a different one each if they're going to get a mark during the next exam when it's next lesson when it's report back. My one is Aristarchus. Difficult to pronounce these things, but I've got to say which one mine is. Maybe Hero as well. He was a hero. Oops. Which animals have bulletproof skin? Why don't animals have sort of hairs growing down in front of their mouths to stop the viruses coming in? What's that about? Surely that should have evolved. Viruses have been around much longer than mammals and most other animals. What things did not evolve and what strange things did? Another investigation, the lethal dose of chocolate for dogs and other human foods that are not good for other mammals. And heartworm. How come it has such a drastic effect on dogs, but not on humans? Which animals are bulletproof? There's 3 more weeks worth of homework. What percentage of food is actually eaten? When was DNA evidence used to convict somebody in court and it was later proved wrong? And also when bite marks were used to predict that somebody should be put in prison. They were, and it was wrong. When science was used by the judiciary, which everyday science is yet to be proved, something they can figure out and make themselves famous and possibly rich. Which technologies do they predict will be invented in the next 10 years? Companion planting and the science of food. What things still need to be discovered? What things are in everyday life that still haven't been explained? What is the meaning of science? What food should be put in the fridge, the freezer, or not at all? What food should be put just in a cool place in the dark to make it last longer? Where do your bananas come from? And other fruits, vegetables, things that are in your supermarket? Find out. Who should you trust about how to be healthy and how to live a happy life? People in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, or 70s. And what do those sets of people say? The chemical formula of caffeine, nicotine, and others. And why do plants make caffeine and nicotine? Opium and others. What is the good and the bad side of coffee, tea, chocolate, peanuts, for the health, for the environment? Walnuts, lentils, and nicotine. What everyday activities do most people do wrong? I'm looking at you getting out of that car and causing electric shock fires. What is the difference between what we eat now and what we ate 20 years ago, 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 2 million years ago? The science of Pondus Dibbons. That one's going to cause some trouble. Maybe for the upper groups. Why do boxers wear gloves? And what's the advantages and disadvantages of this? Was it good that Noah used a raven? What's measured in barleycorn units? And are there any other weird units? How far is the horizon away when you're at sea? How many people are killed by fog? How many people are killed by fogs? What's the fastest living organism? Many different ways to answer that. Next. There's a myth about the Americans inventing a pen that can be written in space and the Russians using pencils. So this is a myth, a science myth. Why does never NASA use pencils in space? What would be the problem? Because it's graphite, you see, it conducts in little pieces. And how does NASA use the movie Armageddon? Next. The Bajau, B-A-J-A-U, people of Malaysia have a 50% bigger spleen. Why? How did this happen? We lose 3 kilograms of hydrogen and helium from our planet every second. Does that mean that the Earth's getting lighter? Or are there other factors? The diaphragm and hiccups. Why? Surely we should have evolved out of hiccups by now. Dolphins are born with a moustache. Butterfly colours are due to thin film interference. Different phase differences cause different wavelengths. Diffraction, dark lines between the finger and the thumb when they're almost touching. And eye floaters. Next one, stars twinkle. UV light and colouring clothes. And changing chemical bonds. Red stars and blue stars, but not green stars. Why is that? Why is pink not in the rainbow? Is pink a colour? Some people say yes, but then pink is white with red. So white with blue gives light blue. White with green gives light green. How come light blue and light green don't get their own name? Next, what do tomato plants do to insects so they can capture them and digest them? Bubbles in coffee to predict the weather. Where do beaches come from? Which country has the highest crime rate per capita? How to hypnotize animals, and is it helpful? Next. Are trees good protection from lightning? You could just say this to the class, but it's much more interesting if they find out for themselves. What is a good owner of a pet? Different pets? What makes a good owner? What do they do? Are planes and cars good protection from lightning? Is golf a dangerous sport? How are roof tiles made? How is concrete made? How are plastic pens made? How are cars made? How are iPhones made? How are t-shirts made from plants? How is pasta made? And paper? How are seedless grapes made? The history and science of crisps. How is vodka and petrol made in a similar way? Everyday science and inventions came from dreams. The science of ancient Greece, how come they didn't have the steam engine? Well, they did. Kinda. The wisdom of centenarians. What crises has science been helpful for? Pros and cons of reusing plastic water bottles. What was the worst ever invention from the point of view of pollution? Sperm whales. The uses, the science, and how they avoided sail ships. When should the media have apologised for printing wrong science and putting it into the brains of the masses, and most people still think it's true? Which way does the wind blow, and why? Why is it so hard to predict the rain? What's the connection between sleeping well and brain disease? How many hours of sleep did famous people get? Longer and smaller amounts. I'm talking about Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan here. And what were the consequences? Cool. What are the unwanted animals and fungi in our homes, and how are they dealt with badly for our health and not so badly for our health. Which food plants can you grow from a seed and which ones you can't? Confirmation bias. What does it mean? And give me examples. So different students, if they want to get marks that lesson, some students will get 5 or 6 examples, so that if 4 people went in front of them, I always try and get an even spread as much as possible for marks, so that if someone unusual puts their hand up, I go straight to them, try and get them a mark. How is your life better than Henry VIII's? Where's the best place to be to get the heat from a radiator? What's the chance of getting 4 heads or 4 tails in a row if you flip a coin 12 times? First of all, they guess in the class, putting hands up. And then they try it at home. What's the benefit of REM sleep? What's the benefit of NREM sleep? When do they happen? During the night. And what are the problems if you don't get these ones? How should you brush your teeth? What are the ways that are most efficient? Cool. Why should you not open your parachute before you get out of the aeroplane? Why should you not inflate your life jacket before you get out of an aeroplane? Why should you know where the emergency exits are for you to get out of an aeroplane? And the lights on the floor, what's them about? And the windows, open, close, open, close. Why are they sometimes open? Why are they sometimes closed? What's the science behind these things? Another one I like to do is to give my students an episode, starting with the second series of Mythbusters. Give them one each, and they've got to watch it, pick the best part of it to report back about, and I'm particularly interested in when they use the words control, or when Adam Savage says, I didn't predict that, because that's science. Great program. Get the students to say how much poverty there is in the world, how many people die in aeroplanes, how much there is education for girls in Africa, what percentage of people have got clean drinking water, what's the price of solar energy to make a light bulb light up. Maybe a car go along 1 mile. How much immunization is there in the world, against which diseases, how much literacy and democracy there is around the world, and in the world, how many women vote. And once they've said their ideas, put them on the board, make a copy of their how much percentage they reckon, then get them to find out. Another one for research, the tragedy of Darwin's children. Another one, the Ig Nobel Prizes. Pick one, report back. Another one, just one thing I've already mentioned, the YouTube channel. Not what you think. Mental Floss, Misconceptions is a good scientific program. Oh, and Horrible Science. More useful programs, 50 things that made the modern economy. More or Less, podcasts, both of those. Inside Science, Trust Me, I'm a Doctor, television program. The NHS compared to other websites. How is oil got from underneath the ocean? And the bouncing bomb. Next. Investigating common knowledge myths. One, well, the most famous one, was invented by somebody who wanted to investigate myths. And she set out to get everybody to know that we eat spiders when we're asleep. And it worked. And it's still going round as a meme today. It was a myth made up by somebody who wanted to investigate common myths. Other ones, how to put out a kitchen fire with water. Not. 10,000 steps a day. Where did that common myth come from? One of the things I'd also like to do is to present I'll do it later. Why ancient people didn't think that the earth was flat, and when did the whole flat earth thing happen. Running on a treadmill versus road running. Which one's better for you? The science of ethyl-lead petrol. Good things, bad things, why everyone used it at one time, but not so much now. Lead pipes and the Roman Empire, what happened because of it. CFCs. Why were they invented? Why were they used lots? Why don't we use so much anymore? Bleeding patients. When was that a big medical procedure? Why we don't do it anymore? And how come they had electric cars in 1910 and then they had to be reinvented? They went out of fashion. Why do people have lawns? What's the whole point of that? What are the social norms in different places and different cultures and different times? The Unbelievable Truth and QI, the television. Why the brain is more water than the rest of the body, and why the brain uses up more energy than the rest of the body. The science behind walnuts, blueberries, and omega-3 being good for your learning. And what's the problem with omega-3 eggs, and how about sleep, exercise, and the way you should revise. How is sunshine good for your body and helps you with your learning? Is it true? Is it false? Should you do cramming just before exams? True or false? Bring 2 calculators, extra pens and pencils. Should you be young if you want to pass exams? Does happiness help you pass exams? Meditation, yoga, mindfulness, being hydrated, and caffeine drinks. When can they be useful? When are they the opposite of useful? At the start of a lesson, if I have to log on to some complicated computer program, which I had to at TPS in Petersfield, a whole bunch of clicks here, clicks there, 2 sets of passwords. It took me 10 minutes every lesson just to get the computer work, because I had to do it to do the register. And so what I did was I got a starter put on the board. So I got students to write down questions on the board, put their hands up, come up, write the question. I'd have to adapt some of the questions. And then other students would have a go at them. A student would write an easy question, then a medium question, then a hard question, and then another student again would start with an easy, medium, and hard. Things that they've already learned, things from the past, and that helped even when I was totally new to the school, because I got to find out what they'd learned, and it gave me time to get my lessons. Bacteria. Name some bad ones and some good ones. Why you should hoover your fridge. How to sneeze. Is a handkerchief better, a tissue better, or into your elbow better? Or should you just sneeze into the air? Or into a mask? Advantages, disadvantages. The Mekong hydroelectric dam. Advantages, disadvantages. Why some people should dehumidify their rooms down to 30%. When you should do this. Who should do this? Should you put spiders that you find in your house outside? Spiders, geckos. Are they your friends? Or are they the creepy crawly enemies? Another show, Trust Me, I'm a Doctor. TV show. Should we swap petrol cars for electric cars? When should doctors give antibiotics? And when is it harming the planet that they give antibiotics? Well, harming us. Should cars be made out of stainless steel? Advantages, disadvantages? Well, is a spoonful of pasta worse for you, or a spoonful of sugar, or are they the same? Find out the science. The science of climbing Everest. Oh, and from a maths point of view, why, when they first find out how high Everest was, I believe it was called Everest, named after a boss of the guys that was working it out. The number was so unusual that they had to change it. And it was only later that their unusual number was found to be actually very close to the truth. Why you should eat dark chocolate rather than milk chocolate? Is it true, or is that a myth? What do you do to live a long, healthy life? The people that have lived long, healthy lives, what do they say? In order to lose weight, should you eat carrots instead? Should you have next to your desk where you do your homework, should you have carrots, apples, and other things, nuts, raisins, that are good for you, so that you're encouraging people to eat the things that are good for them? Let's pose it as your little sister. Do this for your little sister, and she'll eat the things that are good for her, rather than going to the fridge and eating the bad things. And what are the worst things to eat? Is NASA worthwhile? How much money does it cost? How much science has come from it? The American military, how much of the iPhone did they invent and put money into? Should you put a ball of aluminium foil into your washing machine? What would happen? Many books and podcasts and the like would say that 37.5 degrees C is the temperature for a human. Is this true? What's the story behind it? The German doctor who said it was 97.6 degrees C. Is that actually true, or is there a range of healthy temperatures? How long would it take you to count to 1,000? How long would it take you to count to 1,000,000? How long would it take you to count to 1,000,000,000? Experiments, results. When teaching covalent bonding, I like to, the homework before, get my students to find words starting with CO that mean that you're helping one another. Get as many as you can. So really enforce covalent bonding being shared. What are the advantages and disadvantages of air conditioning? Did it just use up loads of energy and cause global warming? And then you need even more air conditioning. Or did it make people in hot countries more efficient and able to work longer hours? Why did people in Spain and other hot countries used to sleep during the middle of the day? And should they still be doing that? With these investigation tasks, I do encourage my students to help amongst their friends, so that when I'm asking for answers, new answers, so I ask for an answer, hands go up. I always go to the students that have got less marks in my mark book first. So they don't need so many allies. They know if they've got a good answer, they can put their hands up, they get a mark straight away. So the harder working students will cooperate more, and they'll swap answers amongst themselves, so that if student Albert gets asked first, he can give any answer he likes, but Bert can't give that answer because it's already gone. So he should have 2 ready, and Kath should have 3, and Doug should have 4. So it means that people will swap answers amongst one another and help with their own learning. Cooperation with incentives for them to cooperate. Why are the mountains higher on Mars? Why are there so many diamonds on other planets? Is there enough water on other planets for us to go there? How long would it take us to terraform other planets for us to live on? What's happening to the bacteria from the astronauts when the poop was sent out of their spaceships? Is that bacteria already on the way to outer space? Were we seeded by the bacteria of space aliens?